Good evening, everybody. This is our Leadership DeKalb class of 2024 open house. I am Shara Sanders. I am the interim executive director of Leadership DeKalb, and I'm also a proud member of the class of 2017 from Leadership DeKalb. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to some of the people from our who will be assisting us tonight. They are alumni and current class members of Leadership DeKalb. So I'll just give them a couple of minutes to introduce themselves. Geraldine, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Geraldine Smith, and I am from the class, the best class ever, regardless of whatever you're going to hear after me, class of 2009, and I'm happy to be here.
And Carl, if you're able to come on. Oh, there's Carl. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Carl Williams. I'm from the class of 1998, which means that I have celebrated over my 20th year with Leadership DeKalb, and I think I've got the reins with the best class ever, but we'll see.
And then I'll turn it over to Jackie.
Hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Jackie Moffo. I am with the class of 2023, the best and newest class ever.
Thank you all very much. And so we have a wide range of experiences that we'll be able to talk to you about Leadership DeKalb tonight. One of the things you'll hear a lot is the best class ever, and everybody tries to get bragging rights for who has the best class ever, but we all agree that we all come together to just kind of make DeKalb County to be the best county ever. And so we enjoy the friendly rivalry. Just a little bit about, before we move into some questions and discussion, a little bit about our organization. We were founded in almost 35 years ago in 1986. So we've been around for a while. We were started by the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, and then we became our own 501c3 nonprofit in 1994. And Leadership DeKalb's motto is learn, connect, and advance. And each program day, each experience, we really try to focus on those aspects by learning kind of different things about the county, different areas, different experiences, different people, exposing people and members of the class to things that you may not even know about or even aware of. I think I hear that every program day, that I never knew this was here, or I never knew we did this. We also try to connect with leaders within the class and alumni and in the community. We have over 1,200 alumni, and can become lifelong friends within your class, within your small groups within the class, and that's just a wonderful experience. We also, excuse me, I've got the pollen is causing me to be a little raspy, but we also try to advance not only yourself, but also advance the initiatives of the county. We try to advance you through learning leadership skills and connections, but also advancing programs, initiatives, ways you can help out the community and your neighbors. So just a little bit about what you can expect through the program. It's a 9-month program. It starts with class orientation in August, and you should have those dates. We're trying to start orientation around August 10th, and then we will be moving into, and that's just a kind of a short 2 or 3 hour get to know your classmates, kind of get your footing before jumping into opening retreat, which is a 2-day experience. And it's, focusing on learning about the program, learning about each other, and learning about our community service projects and things like that. For the first time this year, we are doing a 2-day closing retreat, which will be in June. A lot of the programming, because of COVID and other things, we've been virtual or hybrid since, I guess, March of 2020. This is the first year where we've been back fully in person and doing the opening and closing retreats. So things have changed, but we're trying to get back into the in-person world. And so, we'll talk about some of the program days, but there's, focusing on integrity and ethics and diversity and inclusion. We also go into History, Arts, and Culture Day, then government. We're getting ready to have our Justice Day next week. And then we'll have education, economic development, and health. So that's just kind of an overview, and we can talk more specifics and answer questions about those days. But typically, we go from location to location during the days. Some days will be in one place, but a lot of the days, for instance, History, Arts, and Culture Day, where we started out at the DeKalb History Center, but then we went down to Buford Highway, and then we went over to Arabia Mountain and ended up over at Clarkston Library. So we do try to kind of move around the county so you can see and experience the different parts of the county. So with that, we'll move into our question and answer portion of the evening. And I'll start off, Jackie, just because we like to haze the news folks. We're going to start off with you and ask you what inspired you to apply to Leadership DeKalb?
Yeah, so I had worked in Georgia before. My industry is economic development, so I've worked in local and in county government. And when I previously worked in the state of Georgia, I had worked in Athens, Clark County in Athens, Georgia, and I lived and worked in the past in Savannah. So I was familiar with the state, but Metro Atlanta was a whole new world for me. And so I really wanted to, having found a job and a career in DeKalb County, I was really looking for ways to plug in, meet people, and learn more about the community that I was, trying to be a part of and support. So Leadership DeKalb was just a natural fit when I started asking people, like, what should I get involved in? How do I learn more about the community? How do I meet cool people? And they suggested Leadership DeKalb. So it became very highly recommended from people I work with and with some of our city council members who are alumni of Leadership DeKalb as well.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. And Geraldine, would you like to kind of think about the program days? I know they've stayed pretty much the same, 2009 and Carl, even maybe 1998. But if you can think about your program days, what was your favorite day or most memorable program day?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest question, because every month, and it had its own experience and learning, and I would probably say History Day was one of the tops, because I live in DeKalb County and there was so much in my backyard that I was clueless was there. And so it just opened up a lot of those doors, and then having the opportunity to go to different places to do the learning. So, again, every program day had a lot of learnings, and Justice Day, which was one of my favorite, and doing the police ride and going to the courthouse. And thankfully, I didn't have to go prior to then for any reason. So it was a learning experience, just having that door open and just learning and just going to a lot of different places, within DeKalb County that most people just don't have access to, or just wouldn't have a reason to go to. But the learnings were there. And then just hearing, firsthand knowledge of those that are working in those different areas, and the police chiefs, and, of course, doing, the police ride was exhilarating, having never done that. And riding a police car. And I was up front. They didn't put me in the back or anything like that. So it was great. I had, it was just great experience. Every single month gave something different, and the formats were very different. So it wasn't just the lecturing. There's a lot of that part of the learning portion, but actually going and being able to physically go from one place to another was awesome. So it's hard to pick just one, but yeah.
And I would agree with that, because I would think about Justice Day, where we were able to tour the jail, and it gave me a greater appreciation for some of the challenges that correctional officers have. But then also we were able to tour the 911 center, and just kind of those behind the scenes experiences.
Yes. And Flat Rock, we built a relationship, and we went back there and just to see all the history in that one home, and just listen to Johnny Waits, as a matter of fact. And he was so knowledgeable and gracious to give us a lot of history knowledge, and had lots of pictures and just memorabilia that, from, that flat rock, and then going right there to Arabia Mountain. It was state of the art. I'm grateful I got out of high school when I did, because I probably couldn't have got into Arabia Mountain. Those kids are very sharp, but excellent, excellent experience every month.
Definitely. And Carl, did you have a memorable or favorite day from when you went through Leadership DeKalb in '98?
Can I remember back to '98? I think my favorite day was Education Day. And that's because the education piece was so far removed from me, meaning that I had very little knowledge about what it was. And I had very little knowledge about why it didn't seem, I'm 20 years military. And usually what happens is the education system and the recreation system is together. You understand? So the students can use the same recreation facilities that they went to school with, and that sort of thing. And so here in DeKalb County, it was not that way. It's kind of separate. You got a recreation department, and you go over there for that. And the schools close at the end of the day, and you can't go in, so I wasn't quite sure how that worked. And so in general, the whole piece, the whole Leadership DeKalb experience is one of letting you understand where you live and how the mechanics of where you live work. And that's essential if you're a leader or plan to be a leader anywhere, because, local government kind of works kind of the same way no matter what.
That is a great point. And that's what I felt like with my education day, where I was used to kind of that one size fits all kind of viewpoint of education, and seeing how our leaders are recognizing the needs of our students and our community, and how that's translating into different programs and the technical programs. And back in 2017, the technical college was starting the filming classes, and learning about how to be part of the filming production, which is so important now here in Georgia, and just exposing us to just all kinds of opportunities and ways we can support new initiatives around DeKalb County. But well, and coming back, another part, important part of the Leadership DeKalb is the community service projects. So we have a larger class, and then each year we ask for nonprofit organizations from around DeKalb County to apply, kind of like a grant, but it's not for money, it's for our wealth of knowledge and experience, I guess I could say. And so that we have our teams, we break up our class into teams that work with a nonprofit on a certain program or question or challenge or problem. And Carl, I know you've been involved with the community service projects for a while as a liaison. And so wanted to see if you could talk about kind of your experience with community service projects.
Well, my experience is that it's an absolutely wonderful opportunity for the class, the leadership class members, to get to understand what it's like to operate a nonprofit and how it works, and sometimes how it doesn't work. What happens is that DeKalb County works kind of different from other counties, where they have over 120, 130 nonprofits, and they fund their community work through the nonprofits in the county, as opposed to doling out money to the particular or trying to manage the particular requirement, whether it be education, whether it be for providing food for individuals. So in this county, it's done through nonprofits. So it gives the participant a completely different kind of view of the struggles, about how you have to do it, what happens with it. And more than that, what I like about it is it takes 7 or 8 members of the class that are used to operating on their own, that knows how to get something done and requires them to work together, which is an interesting little thing to watch, and see them accomplish and provide to an organization the knowledge base that they have in their head and provide that to the nonprofit they're working with.
I think that is an excellent point, because being leaders, I think we're all used to being the leader and doing things our way. And we try to, each class we do a DISC profile, which is kind of a personality, strengths, weaknesses, strengths and challenges type assessment. And that DISC profile facilitator helps put people on the teams that work with the community service projects and the nonprofits, and try to make sure there's a balance of different personalities. And that's kind of the experience we have being leaders in the community and then at work and at nonprofits. So it is interesting. It is, we are helping the community and nonprofits, but it's also learning how to kind of hands-on leadership experience.
If I could add one thing, in one of the years I had a individual from Morehouse, a doctor from Morehouse, who participated. And at the beginning of the CSP process, she said, I could do this on my own. At the end of the process, she said, what had been achieved through the combination of all of the members of her team, she could not have done. And so it was a wonderful experience for her.
That is great. Well, Jackie, again, turn back to you about I guess we're getting ready to do our 5th program day next week, and that's Justice Day. What has been your what have you liked most about your experience thus far as a current member of the class?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a combination of the program days, but it's like the program days plus the experience of people you wouldn't necessarily be around to experience those things with, because the programs would be cool themselves, but it's something really special that you are working or around people who wouldn't necessarily be in your sphere if it weren't for this program, and hearing their thoughts and experiences and reactions to the program as you're experiencing it, which have been in many ways different than mine. So it's been really cool to kind of have the program learn about history, learn about, the government, learn about all these things, but also hear the other perspectives as you're experiencing it. I just feel like that's a really special part of this program. You're learning from other leaders and being challenged in your thought process in non-confrontational ways. You're experiencing something together, which I think is really cool.
I like that. Yeah, kind of that shared experience is a bonding experience, and it's people remain friends, but it's also continuing to support each other. We all seem to be involved in different nonprofits, and I know if somebody from my class is looking for a board member, they reach out. Through our social media. We have just a Facebook page, and just for our class, and people, we're sponsoring a fundraiser or need a board member, and everybody tries to support each other and its organizations and experiences I never would have had if I had not gone through Leadership DeKalb. Geraldine, coming back, and you probably get another hard question, sorry about this, but how have you used or leveraged your Leadership DeKalb experience, kind of either personally or professionally? And I may have buried the lead there with talking about board work, but yeah. How have you been able to use it?
Yes, exactly. I think one is, twofold, and in both ways, actually. I think from a networking standpoint, because you have that connection of Leadership DeKalb, by the end of the program, you have had the opportunity to work a lot with others from, the group that you may have been in to work on your projects. But in the different leadership days, we're all together and going from one place to the other. You got a chance to get to know each other. And one of the things as you're coming into the program, you have everybody from the, police chiefs and attorneys and, judges. We had everyone from every different genre that you can think of, work related, in different titles and high levels. but we kind of checked those titles at the door and just came together as leaders. So it wasn't because you're, superintendent and that sort of thing there. When we came together, we had that common goal and bond, no matter what experiences you brought to the table, but we were able to learn from each other. So the networking became invaluable. So when you make a phone call that, you may not have gotten through otherwise, say, hey, this is Jerry from Leadership DeKalb. So it kind of like that spark goes off, that we have that bond from Leadership DeKalb, even if it's from a different class, but especially the class that you came into. So the networking is invaluable. And two of my classmates from 2009, we became personal friends that we are, to this day, become very personal, friends that we talk all the time. We always have Leadership DeKalb to talk about. And so, that's why, I came back getting involved in and to be able to share my experience and being able to come back and help, the incoming class. But I think it's just great experience to be able to network and form, lifelong friendships and bonds.
Thank you. And I can echo that. That is very special. These friendships that we've made through Leadership DeKalb.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, would you like to talk kind of how you've been involved since graduation, and just to let folks know, if you have any questions, if you like to put them in the chat. Heather Gaylord, who is a current member of the class of 2023, but she's also on staff with Leadership DeKalb. She is monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put those and we'll get to those after we go through our questions to each other. So Carl, if you'd like to talk about your experience.
I guess as one of the oldest members, I keep coming back to being one of the oldest members because it works. I want to add one thing to the issue, is that when you're going on these particular program days, not only are you working with or being with your other classmates, you also have the opportunity to actually meet, touch, and talk to the individuals of the heads of that department that in essence you are at on that program day, meaning that you will probably get a chance to raise your hand and speak to the CEO of DeKalb County, Michael Thurman. You could wind up with the superintendent, the person right there. Very rarely are you going to be able to come face to face with that person that's there to help you do whatever it is you want to do. For me, to answer the question, is it's been on and off. When I graduated in 98, I became a board member for 4 years. At that time, we had a youth leadership piece. And so I worked with them for a while. And then what happens is you get involved probably in trying to succeed in your particular career, and you put that down a bit, but you always, one, know where to go to get the question answered. Two, you could always, we had an old book, I'm old school. So we had a book, and in the book, it had everybody's pictures and names and classes and whatever. You turned to the class if you needed to do that, and you called them. And then also, and I think we started back with it, we would have our annual meetings. And in the annual meetings, people would come back together, see each other, meet other, do that sort of thing. And so you never felt alone. I guess my point is that I've never felt, after becoming a graduate of Leadership DeKalb, that I could not solve a problem or have a problem solved as it related. It feels like infinity, because the individuals are so smart that it doesn't necessarily have to relate to the county. It could relate to something that's happening in the state, something that's happening in the country, something that's happening outside the country. And all you got to do is, what's that thing? That's Sigma 6, where, you're only outside of the degrees, 6 degrees outside of that piece. You're only about 4 degrees when you're with the Leadership DeKalb. Call somebody, boom, done, finished. I don't know whether I answered that right, but that's
that is a great answer. I love the being able to find the answers and solutions. And that's a perfect example of some of the things that you experience in Leadership DeKalb, knowing who to reach out to, or knowing kind of your kitchen cabinet type thing of people who might be able to help. Did you have something else to add, Carl?
No, well, and one of the, I forgot it. I'll come back.
Okay, no problem. And that is, one of the things I started, just a little background. I'm an attorney by trade. I'm also a mother of a 15-year-old daughter who's a freshman at Lakeside High School. And I was the Junior League of DeKalb County president when I was nominated for Leadership DeKalb. And I was very intimidated. Was not sure why I belonged in Leadership DeKalb. I didn't have a title. I wasn't, a CEO or a commissioner or a police chief or elected official or anything like that. And so I was kind of intimidated. But then when I came in there, and like you said, it's, everybody checks their titles at the door. I think, Geraldine, you said that we're all in the same experience and the same kind of level. And I, quickly learned that there's different types of leadership styles and skills. And, I've learned I'm more of a servant leader, which is, different from other types of leaders. And, realized that I wasn't coming to Leadership DeKalb to learn how to be a leader. We were already leaders in our fields and our communities, and this was just kind of expanding our circle, and so we can become better, more influential, more impactful leaders in the community, and especially DeKalb County. So when you were speaking about that definitely having this network and these circles has just been fantastic. And I was just going to ask everybody, I know we're actually running ahead of time, so this is great. Was going to ask everybody, and I know there's some questions in the Q&A, but kind of why do you think Leadership DeKalb is so important to our county and in our state, but our county specifically? Anybody can jump in.
I can kick it off. I think one of the things that I think is very critical is just learning about what's going on in your, where you live. I think that one of the things that was really critical and important, and a big piece of my learning, is just learning about, we use real world talk about what's really going on. So it wasn't just theory talking. We talked about real world issues and things that even within the county that was actually going on at that time. And because we had a lot of those leaders from all walks and genres that of people all walks of life coming to, they were able to give real world experience of, hey, I'm in this role and this is what I do. And then because we had the experience of going, to kind of expand our knowledge around education, I'm a human resource professional, so I know HR, which is a piece of everything, but it really gave you a just a plethora of experiences that you otherwise would have had, as Carl said, and being able to talk to a judge, but actually going to the school systems, going to the superintendent office, or going to the jail, or going, to Flat Rock and things that are going on around us, but also being able to talk about the social issues that were going on within our, the South, North and the South, the East and the West, what's going on with the MARTA. And, so what's going on in the news, you're able to talk to those same people that are living it every day. And so it's invaluable as far as that experience and coming in. So that's why it's important for you to really expand, kind of expand your wealth of knowledge about the, where you live and how decisions are made that impact you every day from the school system. I'm like, why am I paying for school tax? I don't have any kids in school, right? But, but just the importance of how certain things work that you wouldn't think how they work. And by the way, Carl, we did have Michael Thurman to come in and he talked to us, and at the time he was labor commissioner. And so we had real world talk. And so I think that's the most invaluable piece that takeaway for me is being able to talk to these leaders that are living this every day and talking about the real issues from the people that are having to respond to it. MARTA, all of those things that were going on at the time, just having them as part of our class, but also as far as our presenters to go to where they are working every day.
Thank you. Yeah, Jackie, if you had anything to add?
Yeah. So I feel like this was kind of hit on by you, Shara, and by Carl, but I feel like oftentimes in our sectors, we can get siloed, all of the government people talk to the government people, and all of the, and even more siloed, all of the court people are talking to the court people, and the economic development people do their own thing, and all of the schools are doing their own thing. And it's really cool to break some of those down. I feel like that's really important for the county and for the community to make introductions where it's like, I have a challenge and I need to get the perspective of someone who works with businesses in a different type of setting, or works with the schools, or is in our criminal justice system. How do I now have a point of contact there? And not only one, there's a whole library of alumni that can give different perspectives, and they're easily accessible. So I feel like that is a really important thing for the county that's a component of this. And then for yourself as growing leaders in the county, I feel like there's this really cool mentorship kind of opportunity that comes from doing this. Just as like a side thing, you meet a bunch of people, they do a bunch of different things, and you can make those connections, which can be really intimidating for young professionals who don't know where to start with kind of those connections and making those asks. So I do feel like that's also really important to the county when they're looking at growing the future leadership, and you have just a great pool of talent to pick from if you're in this in one of the classes.
That's fantastic. And I was going to say the same thing about silos. It's just, it gives you an opportunity to break those down and also see how, even though we don't see it, they are working together. And there was an example of breaking down the silo was in our class, I think it was the city of Decatur fire chief was in our class. And when we were at education day and we were at the technical college, and they had a police course, like a law enforcement police course, but they didn't have a fire course. And so he was able to make a connection and try to, they started taking those steps to get a class for rising, or people who are interested in joining the fire department. And that was just amazing just to kind of watch that as we were walking around, that was happening. And I was like, okay, who do I need to contact to maybe get this into the curriculum, and what do we need to do? And that's just, it was kind of neat. I forgot about that. Well, we did have a couple of questions, unless anybody had anything else to add. Had a couple of questions, and it said, if you cannot meet, one of the questions was, if I cannot meet, come to the opening retreat due to work that has already been pre-scheduled, just please reach out to me, send me an email. We can work something out. That happens every year, and people's schedules or work life, things come up. Just reach out to me and we can figure something out. Please don't let that be a deterrent. A lot happens during that opening retreat, because it's kind of a 2-day thing, but I don't think it prevents you from enjoying the rest of the program or making the connections with everybody for the rest of the program year. Also had a question about how often does a graduate of Leadership DeKalb get to fellowship with other members? That's a great question. And it was something we used to do much more often. And then with COVID and lockdown, it kind of changed everything. We used to have, as Carl referenced, an annual dinner, and everybody, each class pretty much would buy a table, and we'd kind of sit together. One of our fundraising efforts, we used to be a yearly annual dues organization. We stopped doing that because just becoming, you pay, it's not cheap to become part of the program, and did not want to kind of keep coming back to our members and asking them for money. But we do have certain fundraisers like the annual meeting. We also have been trying at least to do some quarterly events. We've got, we did a summer soiree over the summer. It was at Nelson Mullins offices in downtown Atlanta. They have a gorgeous rooftop. We were able to do that. It was warm, but it was fun. We also just had a holiday soiree down in downtown Decatur, and we're looking to do more events. Monthly, if we can get up to that point, we'd love to do monthly events, but right now, since we're kind of coming back into in-person events, quarterly, and then we're looking to do monthly. And we'd love to do some roundtable events. We had done some webinars during COVID times, and we'd like to kind of go back to those in person. One of my favorite events that we did back in 2019 was a Spirited Women event, where it was a bourbon and whiskey tasting, and it was a learning experience, and it was just women to just make us feel comfortable and be able to ask questions and learn about that, because as we've all learned, especially over the past couple of years, appreciation for spirits and the knowledge of spirits helps when you're out in social and professional, social situations, and being able to know about that. I'm trying to think if there's other, Carl or Geraldine, trying to think if y'all remember other events. I know we've done coffees, we've done.
One of the major pieces of getting together is through the community service projects, where your team winds up having to meet at least twice a month together in order to be able to come up with a plan and what you're going to do to be able to help with that. So that immediately puts you in communication with at least another 7 or 8 individuals.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that. And we also, because you have access and contacts for everybody in the class, you got, more intimately known for the group, but you also have the opportunity of others in the class. And when we were going from, 1 month to the other, you're mixing around with others within your class as well. And so I think one of the other things we did were the periodic mixers here and there that we would do. That was more on the social. That was a lot of fun, because you're also meeting people outside your same class while you're going through your program, which is great. So some of us have been around for a while will come back and, just want to say hi. So being part of the, of the alumni, when you get your newsletter, you hear about all the great things of the movers and shakers, and they may have an event, so they may post something there that this is happening, and you'll go and support. But definitely, I'm glad we're bringing back the yearly meetings where you see a lot of people you hadn't seen in a while. But again, we networked, and so by the time you finish with the program, you definitely have a whole group of people that you want to stay in touch with, because you bonded for months. So yeah.
And that's in our class. I mean, I know we've done movie nights, we've done bowling nights, we've done trivia nights, just things like that just our class has done. But then the Leadership DeKalb, tries to organize things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else asked a question about, is the program back to being all in person? Yes. As of, we did closing retreat. Yes. Last class of 2022, closing retreat was in person. And since then we've been back, and knock on wood, we will remain that way. And then, sorry, my dog. We've also, somebody was asking about how are the nonprofits who receive the support from each class identified. We have an application process. We open it up. We kind of advertise to the community. We open up applications, and then we have a committee, the Community Service Project Committee, that selects those nonprofits and then works with them throughout the year. We have liaisons like Carl and others, and then we have chairs who make sure the nonprofits, the liaisons, the class members, everybody is on the same page and communicate. But I'm trying to remember when we did that. That was it was over the summer last year that we had the applications. We had an open house for nonprofits, and we selected those people. we had last question was, is Leadership DeKalb receptive to classroom teachers? I have noticed that a majority of your education members have been higher level administrators and or superintendents. Absolutely. I believe in our current class, we have at least 2 teachers in our class. And sometimes we have a principal, but I know we have a Spanish teacher right now in our current class. So absolutely. We do have some limited, we have a limited number of full and partial scholarships as well. A lot of the organizations, a lot of the businesses sometimes pay for their attendee, kind of their nominee to participate. Sometimes they can pay for a half and the member pays for half. Sometimes they get a scholarship for half, but we are trying to make it accessible to all. We do have a couple in this current nominations that are coming in of just community advocates, and that's when when I applied, I was not working at the time. I was a volunteer, professional, full-time volunteer. It felt like, but it was trying to make it accessible to me to be able to afford that. So yes, we really try to have a diverse class each year off all spectrums, socioeconomic, race, age, gender, profession, and things like that. So if there's not any other questions, I can kind of wrap us up with the next steps. Please feel free, if you think of something later on, feel free to call, text, or email me with questions. The next thing we have coming up on March 1st, I just confirmed today that our in-person open house will be at the Cereal Bar in downtown Decatur on March 1st at 6 p.m. So you can come meet some more alumni, talk to some people in person, have some ice cream and cereal and adult beverages if you'd like, or water. And so that's on March 1st. Our deadline for applications is March 31st. And then our selection committee will be meeting in April. And our goal is to let everybody know by May 1st. And then we will quickly get into orientation in August and be off and running. So I think that's it. I'd just like to thank Carl and Geraldine and Jackie and Heather for coming tonight and talking about your experience. And thank you for everybody who's attended, and look forward to seeing you soon. All right. Have a good night, everybody.